It's all saying we're live. So we're gonna have a fantastic show, Jorjeana, and we've got Johnny here. And these two, we've been having a blast here behind the scenes before we get started, as we do every time. We're always talking to the guests before, getting a little bit to know them and make sure all the tech stuff is working. And that today we had a problem on our end here, but I got it all fixed. Everything's working. We're having a good time. And before we show and have this great discussion, I'm going to show off the app I've been working on. This is like 6 months of my life. This is me staying up late. I felt like I was in my 40s again. And it's a real, for me, it's been one of these, how do I keep my attitude straight when I'm not getting to do the normal things I would do in life? And we all have this in business where you'll have a period where sometimes you don't get to do the fun things because you're working on some project or you're working on a show you're developing. Jorjeana's going to be talking to us about some of the cool things she's done there. He's buying a new house, so he's out looking at all this stuff and going, oh, that's crap and that's crap. And he's making offers and they're, yeah. So, life is perfect other than when we're doing certain stuff. So I'm going to show this off here. And then we're going to have a great conversation. This won't take very long, but I think you'll be pretty wild. So the setup is this. There are a bunch of you that are doing ACX books, and you need to validate that all your stuff is right to go into the publishers. And there's this thing out there called Second Opinion that a lot of people use, or ACX Labs, some people use. And both of them have their things that have always bothered me. And I decided to put my money where my mouth is instead of whining, which I'm by the way, I'm way above average at that. I don't mean to brag. I can whine with the best of them. And so I started developing this app, and I had a prototype ready in about a week. But then when I put it on the master servers to actually scale it up to the level that would be needed, totally failed, because you need a whole bunch of things. If you're going to have 20, 50 people being able to use it in a single day, it didn't work. And that just irritated me to no end. And then I went through, this is like iteration number 4 of total rewrites. So watch this, okay? I'm going to put this on the screen here. And so this is called ACX Pre-Check. And what it allows you to do is go ahead over to your files. And I have some, you won't see it, but I'm dragging. If you go to your Finder, if you go to your File Explorer, you can drag. I'm just going to drop some files. I could drop them any place in here.
countdowns and tweaks and materials we had unmistakably revealed they had witnessed my humiliation, my meticulously built plans of a home of my own, potentially that.
Watch this. All right. Wait. Very. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Let me know.
If you're just joining us, how you enjoying it so far?
All right. All right. All right. I see something. I see something. I see something. Let me verify.
You spy with your little eyes, something.
Yep. Well, I have all these screens going. And let's
How many
see
screens do you have?
I have 3 screens, and then on each
And
screen...
we're back, Larry says. Yeah, we're back.
Okay. So I know what happened.
What happened? Can you tell us, or is it too technical?
No, it's actually quite simple. What happens is that so I have the when I started the demo, I pull up the screen. It looks exactly like the screen that is actually the program running.
Oh, that means nothing to me.
So yeah.
Anyway, I'll say this. This is the first time we've done
so I have
this
another
show
window. I have another window, and the other window has this program on it. Okay, and I tell the program that broadcasts, hey, show me that window. Now on the screen, it just looks that they look as the same. One is the real thing, and one is showing that. So if I had on another one of my computer screens a picture of my dog, it would have pulled up a picture of my dog because that's what I told it to do. But my picture of the dog is on my other screen. But because they look so identical, I dragged files and dropped them into the fake screen, and the program thought, oh, he wants to play all those at once. It was trying to play 40 songs at once. 40.
Well, let's move on here.
Yeah.
No matter
the
what.
bottom line is that was called Don made a boo-boo, and it caused pandemonium. So let's Johnny, how do you know Jorjeana? Let's start this all over again.
I met her during your demo. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Good thing you two both of you have done, I think, improv in the past, right?
Yes.
And have things ever gone wrong?
Never.
Never?
And yeah.
Like, I just did
work with someone, and you say someone takes the thing from the audience. You know, we're two French guys at a gas station in Minneapolis. You go, no, we're not. We're astronauts. And then you do that. Stuff like that messes you up.
Yeah,
I just did a show 2 days ago. I did a show, and I completely, I was hosting American Idol in the show, and I got everything wrong. So yeah, it's always perfect though. It's all that's the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to make mistakes on American Idol in an improv show.
Well, and improv, the whole thing is trying to come up with some way to salvage the mess and make it seem like that's what we were intending.
I actually had an improv company at a college from 78 to 80 or so, and then I stopped and went stand up solo without the rest, because they kept wanting, no offense, love them, but they kept wanting to do scenes that were very funny and worked. They wanted to bring them back, and I said, well, then it's not improv,
right?
You can't, then you're doing just write a play and put it in if you want. That's the whole point,
right?
But you can't. Hey, let's do that scene we did.
Yeah. And it doesn't turn out. It shouldn't turn out the same. Even if you redid that scene, it's improv.
Looking for the same punchline, everything. Come on. But anyway,
that's a style. Yeah. That's a style. That's the Second City does that, and there's a sketch group. One of the writers from Kids in the Hall, he teaches that method: improvise. Take the best thing that worked, turn it into a sketch. But you're working towards that. You're not trying to pass off, we just did an improv scene and now we're going to do it next week. I've had students try to do that. I teach kids and teens, or I have for a long time. And so a lot of improv here. And it's all about this. This is the moment right now. Right. This is the moment.
If it ends up being really good, then I say take it and find a way to write a play around it or something, or like a sketch, a finished piece, because it's a whole different thing. Anyway, I don't
I think
remember how
that's
I
true,
know
Johnny.
Jorjeana. I've known Jorjeana for a long time. The last time I saw you, Jorjeana, was during the most recent APAC in New York when I ran into you at one of the parties on the street. And we were
In the
walking out
middle
the
of
same
the
bar.
street.
Yeah, it was literally the middle. We almost got knocked over by bikes, and we were standing in the middle of the street in New York City, shooting the breeze. But I
Which
don't
made up
remember.
for all the times that made up for all the times I rode my bike in New York City and got run over by people.
Yeah,
So
I don't remember when we officially met. I have no idea. None. Do you?
it was in New York in an audiobook. I think it was at APAC many years ago.
Yeah.
Possibly could have been an Audible event.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't. I mean, after a while, this is a weird business. Here we are working in our booths ourselves and stuff, but we all seem to get to know each other. We attend these events, and then you get to know of a person, and you think you met them, and you probably haven't. Like you have such. Let's be honest. You have such a bouncy, wonderful. Everything about you is just joyful. And so I think there's a feeling people know you already, even if they don't, because you're one of those personalities that's just easy to admire, like, and feel you've known forever. That's who you are, I think. And so when I've met you, I've always felt I've known you, just because that's what you bring
Oh,
out.
And
thank you. Well, I'm honored to be here.
you're totally unaccomplished.
You
I
you know
think
who you're
there's
talking to, right?
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say. But look, for perspective, in case somebody doesn't know, I know you're north of 400, 500 books that you've narrated. I know you've done improv. You've done you're an actor. You're a writer, comedy. You even have an email. When I saw your email address, I thought, oh, that's really cool. Comedy is magic is your email address, and I thought that's super good. So you have a little bit of perspective here. When did you start doing audiobooks? This is like 2 weeks ago. I mean, you're a newbie.
Mhm.
There's still so many people that I don't know, and as you know, it's expanding. There's so many people. It's such a growing industry. No, I had been trying to break in for 20 years. When I lived in New York, I'd walk into the audio publishing houses and try to like get a job, and nobody wanted to give me a job. And then about maybe 14 years ago, I sat down and wrote a business plan. And I was like, I really, really want to do this. I'm not, I just feel there's something here, and I just want somebody to give me a chance at it. And so I just took it really seriously, and I wanted to leave teaching. I was teaching full-time improvisation and acting, and I wanted to be more creative myself. And so the stakes were high because I also wanted to quit touring as a stand-up comic because being on the road was starting to become just harder for me. And so I thought, what if I just kind of put everything into giving this a shot? And so I did what Scott Brick has said about putting together your demo reel. It's like still, I think, on his website. And so I listened to what he'd said about that. And I did a couple of books with some independent authors. And then I started sending that, and Brilliance gave me my first job. And I'm so grateful that they heard something and gave me a shot. But I did a lot of like just trying to get to know each other. And yeah, you didn't ask for all that detail, but there you have it.
Oh, we
Yeah.
wanted all that detail. 'Cause one of the most fascinating things for people who watch this show and listen to this show, they're all at different stages in their career, and hearing people come from different areas. You and I have the closest of any guest we've had so far, the closest resume, I suppose, from our backgrounds and things. But the idea, and this is what stood out to me, you said, I wrote down a business plan. We've all dealt with people who try to help you in your career. The people who have said over and over, write down your goals or something, or write down a business, write down. In other words, if I say I want to work, you mentioned Brilliance. Brilliance I've known for years, and I almost never got to work with them. And one of my goals, I wrote down 2 goals, wrote them down. Said, I want to work more with Simon & Schuster, and I want to get in on Brilliance. That's what I wrote for myself. Both those things have happened. And I think a lot has to do with writing it down, making it a concrete goal. I mean, you can't write down ridiculous ideas. Like I can't write down, I want to dunk a basketball. That's just not going to happen unless someone's tossing me halfway up there. But realistic goals. You said, I want this and that kind of thing. And I just think that's so important because you need to write that. You need to make it, not just a January plan. You have to update it, because sometimes the goals you wrote in January, March, April, May. So why isn't that happening? Well, let's look at your goals. What did you write? How realistic is it? And what are you doing? And people just write down, I want to do this, and then don't do it. I think if you write it down, it helps you begin to take actions to make it a reality.
And also to believe it. Like, everything that you said is absolutely true. I'm nodding my head. I'm just going, yes, yes, yes. The other piece of it is to believe that it's going to happen too. I just knew there was something about audiobooks. I wanted to throw all the kids in the class in like second grade over a hill and just read the book myself. You know, when they're passing the book around and everybody gets to do a paragraph, I'm just like, get out of here. I've always known. Now, but
you read like second graders, for God's sake.
I don't need this kind of competition.
You take the kids who are good and you hold them back a year or two to teach them. Yeah. I want that.
I just knew, but it's like, it was fun. And when people ask to get into this, and I'm sure they ask you that all the time, I always just want to say, like, you probably first and foremost should really appreciate books themselves. Like, because it's not like doing a commercial, you know. I have a lot of voiceover friends who want to do this, and they understand, and some of them respect that it's not like going in the booth and being like, coming up next on TBS.
You know, I did a thing just last week at SAG-AFTRA, as a conservatory in New York. I don't know if they have Atlanta, they have LA and New York, I know. So I go there once in a while and teach audiobook, intro to it. And yeah, it fills like 16 people in there, which is fine. And my first question is, who wants to be an audiobook narrator? And everybody does. I said, who has never listened to an audiobook? And almost all of them they didn't listen, which I find remarkable. Just remember, I want to be a movie star. Have you ever seen a movie? No. Yeah, it's like, well, that's just crazy. But let me ask you this. This is important, because as a stand-up performer and as an improv person, and we'll talk about what that means, and what you do. You go to audiobook performance. What boxes does that check for you as an actor? How does that make, because it's a big difference going from the big crowd, the live crowd, to this unique place in a booth, sharing stories without any validation. I mean, like, you tell if you tell a joke, set up joke, and your first joke is, maybe a 15-minute bit. By the fourth or fifth time you tell it, it's down to 2 lines, because you've found out what works and what doesn't. You get rid of it, and that's what we do. You hone things down, but the immediacy is the applause, is the laughter, knowing you got it. That doesn't happen in an audiobook. So how does that work? How do you deal with that? Missing that immediate attention.
Yeah, you have a great point there. The first comedy I ever did was a play, like, aside from like making people laugh and silly like voices, like doing a play that changed the whole trajectory of my life, because I made an entire auditorium full of people laugh as a kid. And I was like, oh, what is this?
What power is this?
And so then I continued with theater. And so for me, audiobooks really equate to theater, and I've done a bunch of one-person solo shows, one-woman shows, or one-woman sketch comedy shows where I play like 20, 30 characters. And so that's what audiobooks are to me. It's maybe more of a quiet audience, but I'm fully investing and committing to the characters when I'm doing them. I'm just getting lost in the story, much like that value when you're doing a play. When you walk out on stage, that fourth wall ceases to exist. The outside world ceases to exist. That's my training, I disappear. So.
Well, that's all great. John, you want to?
Yeah, explain to me what you mean by disappear. If somebody what do you mean you disappear?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm creating the characters, so I'm bringing my own personal like artistry and essence to it, but that's like what people tell me. Like, that's what I know as an acting teacher to try to explain it to other people. But in fact, I want to be the character that I'm living their world. So there's one of my favorite audiobooks that I narrated, is a character that I just fell so in love with, and I got to like enjoy being her and Isadora Bentley. And it is just like a profound experience, because I even think of it now and I'm just like, I was lost in this beautiful like story. And so it's about that. It's about just committing to the character. And I'm not looking going, how am I doing? I'm not listening going, how do I sound? I'm just telling the story. I'm inside it. Especially a first person audiobook, right?
Yeah.
You're very intimate. So I am that character in that moment.
You're saying some wonderful things that I'm hoping everybody's listening to and hearing, because, no matter how many times I say it or Scott Brick says it or Sean Press says it, you don't know who says it in a way that somebody finally goes, "Oh, that's what I meant." But the very idea that you inhabit every character, and Jorjeana ceases to be. You're not, there's nothing about you we care about. We care about this person, this character, and this person they're talking to. And that's who we all are. The only thing that, from an acting standpoint, getting to play everybody in every place and seeing yourself in different positions, different scenes, different attitudes, I find it really rewarding if you give yourself over to it. The literal only downside for me is the lack of validation of the laughter or applause that we live for. But that's also why we coach and do other things. Like, I think that my life would be a little too solitary if I just did audiobooks. I need that, and that's why I do my retreat. And you coach as well?
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
because I think I'm gonna bring you into some coaching things with me.
Oh, that that would be wonderful. Yeah, I've
Yeah, it
been
would be one.
teaching
Yeah, I
for
think you
since I
speak
was a
my language,
teenager.
and it's good to have someone say exactly what I wanna hear.
That's why you have me,
It
John.
validates me.
Yeah. Uh, so if you were starting over today and, as you would you do the same? What would you what would be the first thing, the most important top 3 things that you would be thinking about if you were starting over today?
It's different now though, because I think that publishers expect more now. Like I don't, and maybe I'm actually maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know that I would change anything. And I will admit that I wasn't an avid audiobook listener when I started, but as I began listening. And so my trajectory of being someone who appreciates audiobooks and becoming somebody who is committed to being better and better and excelling at performing them, they've been parallel. I love finding new people to listen to, and I understand as a listener how intimate it is and how important it is to not be putting something on, because everybody hears that. They hear when you're putting something on. And so being just kind of understanding what audiobooks are as a medium versus like standing on a stage and you have to project and the person in the back of the room needs to hear you say, that is the show. It's you know what I mean. So I don't know that I would change very much about it, but I would be maybe a little more aware of the actual industry and understand that despite so many people being involved in it, that it's much like stand-up comedy. If you want to get booked in a comedy club, there are only so many comedy clubs and so many bookers. And so when you present yourself, people are not going to forget that for a long time. So your first impression is kind of it's an extremely valuable moment. So taking classes and listening to audiobooks and training as an actor before you start approaching people who've been doing this for 40, 50, for a long time, no matter what position they're in. I just feel like it lingers. I think there are people who see me now and are still like, they remember me from 15 years ago as somebody who was like, are there any crumbs for me?
There there are, one of the things that's important everybody needs to know to get in this is, I've always said this, you need to be an answer to problems, not a new problem for publishers. And you need to be very aware. I think it's important that you listen, like you said, you guys both live in towns where you drive all over the place, which is an opportunity to listen. I live in Manhattan. I don't think anybody, in Manhattan, you have a choice. Either you rent an apartment or you buy a car. You can't have both. So it's one or the other. So when I do my long walks and go to the gym, that's when I reward myself with an audiobook. And I try to so I'm always listening to new people as much as I can. And it's fascinating to me. There are some people who are fairly well known who I can't listen to, either in a given story or in a different. I just think, oh my God. But before I turn it off or before I reject it, I have to go over a few things. I have to literally say, wait a minute, what is it about? Because it can't be that I'm mad that I didn't get the job. That's not reason enough not to listen. That's not right. But it can be, what is this actor doing that's not right, or it doesn't work for me? What choices are being made, and what choices would I make if I was doing the job? And that's way, even when you say, geez, I don't like it, I think it's important to say why you don't like it. And I think that all of us who are involved in the creative arts need to understand that. Everybody's judgmental. That's fine. You have your favorite actors. I have mine. You have your favorite narrators. I have mine. Well, when you say, why is that so good? What is it? When we watch a television show, even a commercial, and there's Don and me on the screen talking, and people are making sandwiches, and all of a sudden Jorjeana walks in, and they just can't think. I can't eat my sandwich. I'll hold the refrigerator door open and stare at the TV until she's done, because there's something electric and wonderful that happens. And I think we need to identify that. Yeah. And I do think every time I see you, I'm fascinated. There's something about you. I'm sure the camera seems to love you. And it's great, but you bring an energy in something that other people simply don't. And I'm not sure. I know that that's individual. I know that's you, but I think other people can say, what do I need to do to have that kind of draw, to be that kind of magnet? And I think it's there for people if they'll break down your performance almost academically and see, what is it that Jorjeana's doing that makes it so wonderful that Johnny's not doing? What is it? And identify that and strive for the Jorjeana method.
Thank you for what you said. I agree about the analyzing why, because I do that too. It's like I know immediately I can't listen to 10 hours of this. This is not going to work for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think pushing forward is going to change it. I'm not gonna do this one. And sometimes I am surprised too. But more often than not, there are people that I've known for years that I've never listened to their audiobook, and then because it's something I'm interested in, then I'm listening, and I'm just like, oh, I just got to see my friend in this whole other way. And in both scenarios, I really should do the same thing. Ask myself, what is it that's making this person so endearing to me right now? It makes me love them even more as a friend, because now I also love the way that they narrate audiobooks. And the same thing with, why did I want to turn it off? I know in one case, now I'm looking back, and I never really wanted to analyze it, but it's simple things. It's simple things that can be fixed. And I know for me that sometimes I'm going to guess that sometimes people turn mine off, because in the beginning, and even sometimes now, I've struggled with allergies. And so I get nasally. It can sound very nasally. Like I could do a character like this, and it's super fun to do. Hold, please. But nobody wants to listen to that for 10 hours, right? But I have done a lot of work to remove the nasality of my sound. And I have become aware of it, and then worked hard to get rid of it, so that, again, it disappears when I go in the booth. I can't be in the booth and be self-conscious.
Yes. Well said. Because you can't, if you're judging everything and worried about it, you can't play. Because whoever, let's say, here's Don in the booth, and Don's not thinking about how is Don perceived. Don's just being Don. If there's an issue of how people perceive me, and gee, should I have said that differently? Should I have done? Then you can't move forward. You can't act that way.
Right.
You simply have to invest everything you know into this character based on their truths. Paul Rubin always says, and I think it's important, no character in any book knows they're a character in a book. They don't know. And so if you're doing a sci-fi or something weird, and you're talking rock, or a singing bee or something, if that's what that rock does, then the rock doesn't think it's odd that it's chatting.
Right.
We do. And I think as soon as we start judging the characters, the material, how's this play, and as soon as we start asking, How do I do that? How do I do that? You know, if you're really feeling it, if you want to express a feeling, you don't ask how to feel it. You just feel it. And I think we distance ourselves from performance frequently by asking how to do a thing that would be instinctive to us if we really felt it.
And a lot of that
Yeah,
that
just go into it.
evaluation, do you go back and listen to yourself afterward? Like, do you listen to one?
Me?
Yeah, do you go back and listen to parts of things you recorded a year ago, or 2 months
O
ago?
only for pronunciation. That's it.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so now here's a theory of mine. If you're a newer performer, then you need to go back and listen to something that you did X months ago, not to listen to the whole thing from beginning to end necessarily, but there is some value in listening to things you have done if you are newer to the performance world. If you've been doing it for 20 years, it's like, okay, I've got most of this stuff. But there's some interesting perspective if you go back and listen to something that you did X months ago or a year ago, and then you have a benchmark to go, I'd do that different if I could do that today. And you don't, it's not, I don't want to go back and just go, oh, I was terrible. I was terrible. I was terrible. It was like, well, what's one or two or three things that I can take away from that and do it differently today? And maybe if I was listening and I had my allergies and I was a little more nasal, then it's like, okay, that's something that I'm going to focus on for the future, but I can't do that in the middle of the performance. I can
Mhm.
Yeah.
retroactively look at something and find some nuggets in there that I could take away, but I can't do it in the middle. Uh, Good performers are in the middle of it, focused on everything else that's going on, not how they're doing it. It doesn't work that way.
I agree. I think when you're in the middle of a performance, like, I don't know what, the industry average is 2-to-1 booth time to finished hour time. I assume you're faster than that. I know I'm faster than that. But when you're doing it, because our attention is never on how many hours I'm in the booth.
Right.
The attention is never on what's happening outside. And if you're, that's the trick of the audio. The trick, that's the art of the audiobook actor, to be in the moment as long as you're connected. And that's why it's hard. Like, if your stand-up routine, or when you started and you opened 5-10 minutes, you middled 15, 20, 30, and then or you're the MC, which is always fun, which meant if somebody sucked, you had to turn the crowd back around so the next artist had a shot. And then if you're the headliner, there's 45 to an hour material. Well, you build up to all that, and you do need to be aware of what you're doing every second, because you need to know if this genre, this theme, this thing is working with this crowd. You could be a political humorist and find these people have never read a book, don't know who's running the country, so you've got to change it. You've got to have other stuff to do. In audiobooks, all you have to do is present the author's truth, and you don't have to worry. The people who are at the other end listening got the audiobook because they like it. You and I may not care about photosynthesis, but if that's what the book's about, that's what the listener wants to hear. It's not for me to judge.
No, I think there's also one other little thing that is kind of transcends uh, a lot of anything you could be thinking about or trying to get right. And that is when we go into the booth to relax and have fun. It's the same thing for stand-up comedy. It's the same thing for improvisation. Most performance, like all comedy performance, like an audience is so much more prone to laugh and love what's happening when they see you having a good time.
Right.
And I think it's
Yes.
the same thing with the audiobook listener too. When they see you having a good time as you move through this story, or not see you, but you know what I mean? Like that, just that essence of you enjoying the moment. When you're in the booth, and I have been there, when you're in there and you're like, I have to finish this. I am nowhere near being done, or this isn't my cup of tea right now, or I really want a cup of tea. Like, that's a perfect time to take a break, because just coming back, like the very last chapter of a book, sometimes it's nice to just take a break before you do that very last chapter of the book, because you're going to land the plane. And why not be refreshed from having a moment? I jump on the trampoline, or I go for a little walk, or I just get some sip of water, and then come back and do that chapter, rather than like, I got to push. Because it's like, you got to push, and the listeners hear that. It's such an intimate thing that those little things, if you're enjoying it and having a great time, the audiobook listeners, they're getting that story too. It's a subtle thing.
Well,
Do you find a difference in working at home in your studio versus working at a publisher studio for how you address it, what you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I learned to do that. It's like some directors would be like, let's take a moment because this is going to be the end of the book. And that's where I learned that. I love being directed. I love going into the studio. I ask to every chance that I get. And this being alone all the time, I mean, it's fine and it works sometimes when you have a really erratic schedule or you like to
Yeah,
work
yeah.
at night or something, like, or you live in, I lived in a flight path. So it's like sometimes it's easy to just be working on your own in that sense. But yeah, it helps to have somebody else there who's with you and gives you those breaks. What about you?
My tech in terms of the difference?
Yeah.
I think I was thinking about this. I just went to Macmillan yesterday. I had maybe an hour and a half on a multicast book. By the way, multicast is so big now. It's a way to get awards and earphones without doing. Just show up, say a few words, and off you go. But when you get to the studio, it's a different feeling because at home in your home booth, it's your house. There's your wife, there's your dogs, there's your whatever, and you start thinking about, yeah, and as you work, and I do this all the time, I've mentioned this sort of thing, like you're in the middle of doing something, you feel connected, but you're thinking about lunch. And then you have to figure out when those lunch thoughts came in, I'm on tuna melt or not, and then where did that happen? Because it's not in the book. You're clearly multitasking in a bad way. In the studio, you're much more focused because that's the time. And the difference is too, at home, I don't do like 10 to 4, a full day. Never. In a studio, I do. And you're committed and you
Same.
do it. And a few things I've learned from studio work that I've brought home is one thing is when you get to the studio the next day, because you worked a full day, so it's long, it's arduous. I ask that they play the thing I finished with, the last paragraph I finished, so I can match that energy, because that's the energy the listener heard, versus my morning hello energy, which is brighter, chipper, bigger, so they don't think, suddenly we're all doing, lines of Coke or something before we begin. So you can listen to yourself. And another thing to always remember is when you said to get up before the last, I think you should get up and take a break every hour regularly. I think if you ever feel a need, just stop. I've redone the first 2 or 3 chapters of a book because I didn't feel it.
Yes, I have too. Yes, I have as well. It's so true. If you're not taking a break every hour, you're not drinking enough water.
Yeah.
My chiropractor said that too. Like on a long road trip, if you're not taking a rest stop every 2 hours, you're not drinking enough water.
I
Your
would
back
never
should.
travel with that guy. Yeah.
Way
We're never
bossy.
going to get to Florida.
Hey,
I said drive.
I want to cycle back on something here. You were talking about your
Yeah.
nasally thing, and people. So here's the funny thing. I just know because I looked at your bio and stuff like that. So I know you're north of 400 books. So your nasal thing totally ruined your career. Or it was something that you might have been conscious of, but the rest of the world probably could have cared less, or they didn't care enough to not cast you in the next 300 books. So we all have something about our own voice that we are concerned about, but your acting and your ability to play characters and your ability you weren't self-conscious about the nasal quote, whatever you'd said. Okay, I didn't notice, but whatever it was, that was not the thing that held you back or caused you. Now, you may have decided, oh, I'd like to work that out of my voice. And so Lisa we've talked about this 100 times because Lisa's come to me with a book. She says, hey, she was listening to a book. It was narrated by the author. And at first she's listening to the intro and going, oh gosh, this person should have had a narrator. But she was into the content and that author was sincere. And it came through that the author was genuine and into their character. That was their thing. And so she got used to it. And whatever quote nasal, so people come to me sometimes with this, oh, I don't think I'm rich enough in my sound. That's not necessarily the defining thing about you or why a publisher hires you. but it, and you might want to work through something and refine something, but it didn't take and derail your whole career because you thought, oh.
Pick up a couple of wardrobe boxes and
I
Mary.
say to my students,
I get it,
"Stop
Lisa.
talking."
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna see what's happening. I don't know if I'm supposed to keep rattling on or what. Jorjeana, we've never had so many technical issues before. It has to be all your fault.
Oh yeah, I take full responsibility for
and
this.
well, you should, young
Mercury,
lady.
retrograde, such and such, something. Yes.
So, I will talk to you privately after all this is done about. I have nothing beyond the New England retreat right now, but other things will come up, and I'll see if I can. I want to do some more stuff, so I'll see if I can get you somewhere. Oh, here we go. Audio is working again. We're back, at least audio wise. So you and I will talk. Wait for Don to pop in. Don,
Yeah.
Okay, there's Lisa. Lisa Baarns says great things. She's always there in the comments, and she has to be a guest on our show when I'm there because she's great. Don's wife is just fantastic.
Yeah. Thank goodness for Lisa for catching the sound.
Yeah. Well, you and I
and all the other things.
keep shooting the breeze here. So when you went around, decided you had a career in stand-up, and you're doing voices in Disney, and you're writing, doing all this stuff. How did you what was do you remember your first audiobook job, and how much of your career, because you've got 4 or 5 different things you're involved in, what percentage of it now would you say audiobook work versus other stuff?
I have found it fluctuates. Like after I win like an award, like winning an Audi, like nobody hired me for a long time.
Curse of the Oscar. Yeah.
And that's okay. I just sort of embraced it and gave me time to write. And so I just sort of, I'm grateful that I have these different things that I enjoy doing very much. I love doing audiobooks. People have often asked me like, well, you don't have to do audiobooks now or whatever. It's like, I want to do audiobooks because audiobooks are a joy. They are truly a joy. And so so many publishers know me and give me books that I am so enamored of and admire the author for and just appreciate so much. And I'm changing as I, move from mostly doing kids to some people are giving me some more comedy now, which is nice because that's my background, and some rom-coms and some thrillers and like just some literary fiction. And those are things I haven't really had a chance to do. Most of the titles that I've done, all of those, hundreds, a lot of those have been children's YA.
Yeah.
And I still love that too. I'm doing a picture book this summer, and which I'm very excited about. And so, those opportunities when they come up, I just always appreciate them. And it just fluctuates. Sometimes that's the only thing I've got going on, and I'm not trying to do anything else because I'm just enjoying that. And then sometimes I haven't worked on a book for I usually have something on the book. So
yeah. I find that one of the things I found in my career, because I've been at it a long time now, and a lot of publishers and people know me, so they generally reach out to me with books that I'm already right for, or that I would read anyway. When I first started,
Yes.
I did a lot of books I would never read, ever, ever, ever. Wouldn't even enter. But you get trusted, and that's why it's so important from the acting perspective to be totally committed to whatever it is, whether it's your first love or not, because it is the love of the author and it is the love of the listener.
Yeah.
And that, so you get, and then you get to do more stuff, and you get rewarded in time with, I think, better books, longer books, stuff that you really like. Or once, like, here's you doing great YA, and they say, I really like YA, please send it. But I would love a funny rom-com. If you have something, oh, I would not have thought of that. Great, let me do that, because they trust you. Well, one of the important things to do from our standpoint is not just be good actors, but be good business people. Keep them informed what's going on if there's any problems. Don't be late. Don't ever be late.
Ever.
I just, in this business, we all know, you and I know, and some of the people out there know, that the publishers generally have a little room in there. When they say they want it July 23rd, they may not really want it to August 5th, but they're not telling you that. But if
Right.
you made a deal to have it, you got to have it. It's got to be there. I always
23rd.
suggest, and I don't know if you've done this, but if I look at the due date they've given me, even if I have no problem, I say, well, this is a Friday that you've given me, whatever it is. I say, well, I know you're not going to be in the office Friday. What if we make a deal that when you get to the office Monday morning, it'll be there in your FTP waiting for you? Oh, and we're gone. And so they say, okay, because that gives you Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just in case.
Yes.
And that's an easy. So little things like that aren't problems. And a lot of actors don't realize they can go ahead and talk to the if I hire Jorjeana and she tells me, I've got, my kid is sick, well, take a few days, I mean,
Yeah.
life happens and it's built in. So I just think it's important to be in communication with whoever hires you, because they've already trusted you.
Yep.
And
I
you gotta,
agree.
maintain that. So what do you got? What's coming up for you? What's the next big thing going on for you? Anything?
I am working on I am working on a children's show that I've created. And so, yeah, I have this puppet channel that's just a lot to do. It's called Go Puppets Go, and it's on YouTube, and we're adding a new show onto it. And yeah, so that's the thing that's expanding. We were just playing around making these part illustration, part puppetry, and just kind of putting them up. And then we got a bunch of traction and a bunch of views, and some people that would just have no idea who these hundreds of people are started subscribing. And then it all sort of stopped. And so just trying to understand what's the best way to proceed with doing a show. And so we're rebooting that with a new show. But before I put it up on there, I'm also pitching it. I've usually go to the kids markets and pitch kids television shows. So I'm doing that. That's kind of
Is that traveling to LA, or is that there in Atlanta?
There are different markets around the world, and one of them is used to be in Florida, but they moved to San Diego. It's a kid screen, and so going there and meeting other producers, and I usually end up getting some nice work writing on some of the children's television shows, animation. Yeah.
Is this new stuff, if you mind me asking?
Yes. Well, yes. Yeah, it's all like Peacock and
good, yeah.
Disney, DreamWorks, and all that stuff. But writing for animation is not under the Writers Guild unless it's prime time.
Really?
And I have worked on Writers Guild and become a member of the Writers Guild of America through Tab Time, which was live action and some animation, but it fell under, it's strange how these things get more compartmentalized. It'd be nice if there was one union like we have SAG-AFTRA, but you know how long it took. I'm sure you remember how long it took to even put SAG-AFTRA together, and the fallout of all of that for, union insurance and things like that.
Yep.
But yeah, so in the writing world, it's.
What was your first union?
My first union job was a commercial. It was a public service announcement for juvenile diabetes. And I was working, I lived in New York for a long time, and I was working at one of those rhythm and blues places where I was just signing people in, and this commercial crew came in over the weekend, and I didn't know anything about really acting, except that, I'd been in tons of plays, but I didn't really know anything about the business except to make yourself available and helpful. And so when they were loading in, I said, by the way, I mean, I'm just unlocking the door for you here, but you know, if you happen to need an actor for anything, I am an actor. And they were like, yeah, okay. Where do we put our flags and hang things up? And then sure enough, they came to me later in the day and they said, could you play the coach in this commercial? And yeah,
Cool.
so then, yeah. But I don't recommend that route because, you know, then suddenly I'm in the SAG-AFTRA union having no real experience. And so.
Was it,
What
had
about
we
you?
already joined SAG-AFTRA by the time that happened for you? Or was it separate SAG, separate AFTRA still?
No, they were separate. They were separate.
Yeah. Because I started
I've been a member for.
I started with Equity stage actor and then the other
And then
one.
you were able to join in. Yeah, that's great. So you did a lot of theater too.
Yeah. That's why I started. That's what I thought I'd always do.
Do you still?
Yeah, well, no, not in a long time. I've been but you know, the thing is I can now if I want to. And so now I'm going to actually, I have a coach, Peter Mattaliano is a coach of mine here, and I want to work on some monologues and go audition again. It's been a while. It's been a while since I auditioned for on stage or on camera, so I want to. It's been a long time.
You can just start making your stuff too. And that's something I'm excited about doing is writing my own like short monologues and filming them and doing these silly things.
Is that something you help people like me with? Coaching?
Sure.
Well, then I'm going to contact you for that because I don't know the first thing.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. And Lisa asked the question here, the age range for Go Puppets Go. Because Lisa has about 7,000 kids.
I don't encourage really young children to be watching screens because their brains aren't developed enough for it yet. So, but I know some people, they want to put, exactly. They want to put something on. So it's really 5 and up, 5 to 8, I would say. Yeah. Because
if people
younger kids will.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say sometimes, you know, people do a lot of screens with kids, but you know, but it is sort of like there's a sense of humor that's probably closer to 5 for it.
If people want to reach out to you for some help in coaching and anything, what's the best place to reach you? Donald.
Well, we got our, you know, the email there. That's fine for me. Comedy is Magic, or on Instagram is fine too. Jorjeana Marie with an underscore, and my name's spelled funny, but everybody will be able to see it.
Okay. Because Don will put that in. Now I know. So here, he can't hear. So Don, I was gonna, because we get near the end of this, I want to make sure we have this all set. There it is.
No.
Did I spell it right or wrong? Can you hear me?
Comedy, yeah, we can.
Okay, so my video while we're live, I can't get that reworking, but I have the audio. I'm hearing you too, and this is my best look.
Yeah, you've never looked better.
Yeah, okay.
The Invisible Man. But Don, tell folks how they can Don's demo. Now, what you do, you take your stuff for ACX and you put the files into Don's program there, and it tells you that it's all right. How do they get hold of that?
Yeah,
and how do they reach?
So we're going into testing this week. So I'm better at the actual program development than I am at demos. Just to put that out there. And so, yeah, just send me an email or send me a message on Facebook and I'll get you the URL for that. And it'll be live for everybody sometime within the next few days. I just have to make sure that it works. Anyway, so we'll talk about that next week. And
I've got coming up on August 16th, a month away, Paul Rubin, noted worldwide wonderful director and decent human being. We're going to be in Philly together doing a 1-day acting intensive audiobook workshop, August 16th in Philly at the Hilton Garden Inn, right next to the Reading Market. Go to johnnyheller.com and you'll in the workshop page, you'll see it. That's coming up. And then after that, the 10th anniversary of the New England Narrator Retreat. That's October 13th to 16th. There's still some room. There's 4 publishers there. There's 8 or 9 or 10 more coaches you need to shake a stick at. And I'm going to have Jorjeana come and join us next year there. So that's nice. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. That's one thing I want to talk to you about. So that's coming up. And Jorjeana, it's been wonderful having you here. I'm so sorry there are a few glitches, but you're marvelously talented, marvelously interesting. Will you come back and join us again sometime for one that doesn't get all messed up? We'd love to have you back.
Can you hear me? Thank you for having me.
Yeah. My question is, will you come back?
I think I learned I lost sound on you, but can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yes. You can't hear Don, ask her.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Don, ask her, she'd come back.
Yeah,
She can't hear me.
so here's the thing. So all the technical things I think are on. Well, some of them were on my end, but some wasn't. There was a YouTube thing in the middle that I had to reset something. But so we're super happy you were here. We will definitely have you back because you were. Oh, and she just left. Okay, so now we just see Johnny and hear me. All right, Johnny. Yeah.
Wait, I'll move my say something. I'll move my lips like you're doing it.
Yeah, Johnny, you are amazing, and we are super happy that you are here. One of the great things is live. You know, first off, I always agonize over this stuff, and I feel terrible. But for about 10 minutes, and then I figure out what went wrong, solve it for next week. So we appreciate the audience that's here. As always, thank you guys for being so nice about things. And we're constantly improving, constantly figuring out, constantly working. Life is always interesting. So you have a fantastic week. Next week, I think we have Terry Daniels next week.
Yeah.
Big time voiceover guy, massive in the voiceover business. And I think you guys will be fascinated by that. And I'll work out, check on all the other stuff. So super happy you were here. Thanks for being here. Be sure to like, share, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
See you on the wires. Bye-bye.